Hi, Poppy Yeager here with This Day in History. March 13th, 1925. A century ago, Tennessee passed a law stating that it was illegal to teach evolution in schools. This Butler Act prompted the ACLU to put out an offer. And they said, anybody willing to challenge this law will represent you. They found a willing participant in John Scopes. Scopes taught evolution and was promptly arrested and put on trial. He was defended by Clarence Darrow, who was a great lawyer, but the problem was the judge on the case was a conservative Christian. He supported the idea of not teaching evolution. He started each day of the trial with a prayer and refused to let Darrow call witnesses who had a science background. The entire trial was stacked against Scopes from the beginning. And it only lasted about 7-8 days. And then when the jury deliberated, they weren't out long. It took them less than 10 minutes to come back with a verdict of guilty. The ACLU really wanted to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. That was their goal with this. However, the guilty verdict was overturned on a technicality by the state Supreme Court. And it wasn't until the 1960s, like 4 decades later, that the ACLU finally got another chance to try a case. I think it was in Arkansas, where a teacher was teaching evolution in science. And this time they were able to argue it to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court found that law a violation of the First Amendment. This is all important to keep in mind today. The Republican Party is trying to turn our nation into a Christian nation, but not true Christianity. They don't want the real teachings of Jesus. The Republican Party doesn't want to, give health care to the sick. They don't want to feed the poor. No, they want to use their brand of Christianity to really manipulate and control people. We have some states in the South that now want the 10 Commandments in classrooms. The Republican Party is trying to bring this idea of Christianity back into the classrooms. I have no problem with the teaching of religion. In fact, I think it's important to teach religion. But if you're going to teach religion in a public school, you need to teach. I know you can't teach all religions. There are just too many of them. But you at least should be teaching the main religions. There should be Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism. If you're going to teach religion in schools, you need to teach it from an academic perspective. I am totally in support of that. If we understand other people, if we understand their religions, that makes us more compassionate. In fact, if we're learning about the different religions, we can find ways that we're all alike instead of focusing on our differences. But I am opposed to only teaching Christianity. I am opposed to Christianity being the basis of anybody's education. The Republicans don't want the Moms for Liberty. They're upset that kids are learning about gender differences and LGBT issues and even race in schools. Real history, true history bothers Republicans. And they don't want their children learning this true history or this idea that there are more than 2 genders. That bothers them. But they want to force their religion on everybody else? That's just not right. So today, 100 years ago, Tennessee passed that law outlawing evolution. The ACLU challenged it immediately. Eventually, the Supreme Court ruled that laws that dictate we need to teach religion instead of science are a violation of the First Amendment. We need to keep this in mind, and we need to fight to keep this idea of fundamentalist Christianity out of schools, because if that comes into schools, children are going to stop learning what they need to learn. Anyway, that's This Day in History, March 13th, 1925. Tennessee passed the law outlawing the teaching of evolution.